Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. I hope you had a wonderful week and some good practice building Plotly Dash apps. So in this tutorial, I'm very excited about this because I'm going to show you how to create a Twitter Analytics dashboard that is live. It's going to have 3 tabs, and these 2 tabs we're going to develop in the next tutorials. But this tab we're going to do today. And this tab allows the user to choose a number of results they want to return, and then a mention that they want to see information about. So if they want to see information about all the Twitter accounts that mention Victoria S, then we'll go here, Victoria S, and hit submit. And then you'll get 2 different graphs with all the accounts, the Twitter accounts that mention Victoria S. And you'll see their followers and their likes. You'll see the correlation. You see the correlation between friends and likes. And then you get a message here of the Twitter account that mentioned Victoria S with the highest amount of followers in the last 6 months. So we're going to build this dashboard app. But first, we're going to create a Twitter developer account. Then we're going to have our consumer keys and our tokens so we can connect to the Twitter app. In the second part, we're going to see how to create a dashboard app with tabs. And in the third part, we're going to create this content. We're going to create these graphs by connecting to the Twitter API. All right, so this is very exciting. You can skip to any section of the video just by clicking under the video, go into the video layout section, and choose whatever section you want to go to if you want to skip to this third section. But first, like always, make sure to go to my GitHub, social media, Twitter, and download all these files and put them in one directory. And if you just change the authentication codes, the consumer key and the access token codes, then you'll be able to activate and have this app work for you on your computer. All right, so the first section, let's go and create a Twitter developers account. So go into this website, developer.twitter.com, go into apply, and right here, oh, one thing I forgot to mention, in order to run this app, make sure to download pip install Python Twitter. We're going to use a Python Twitter library that you can see right here. This is the Python Twitter wrapper around the Python Twitter API. Okay, so going back to the Twitter developer account, we're going to apply for an account, apply for developer account. And then I'm going to click on Hobbyist. I'm going to go Explore an API, Get Started, enter a valid phone number. Let's put a phone number in here. Add phone number, I forgot to add mine. Okay, just verifying my phone. Perfect, so we have a phone number. Let's refresh, make sure it's okay. Hobbyist, API, get started. And then you just fill out this information. What would you like us to call you? Just call me Mithra Goes Dark. What country do you live in? We'll just put United States. Current skill level, let's say highly. Next. Oh, okay. This information here I just copied. I did this before, so it's faster. So you don't have to so this video is faster for you. You can just put in the information that you want. It doesn't really matter. I'm done. I'm not going to share this with government entities. And then I'm just going to explore the API. Where is it? Oh, everything looks good. Next. Developer agreement, blah, blah, blah. They probably don't expect you to read everything. Submit application. Success application submitted. Time to verify your email. So going to your email, developer's account, confirm your email, and that should work. Let's see what we have. This should allow us access to tokens and consumer keys. Okay, so we have to create a project, I think. If I remember correctly, we'll call this my first project. This will give us the consumer keys. We're going to do this just exploring the API. Project description. I will be exploring Twitter tweets. Thank you very much. Next, app name. Let's go Mithra Goes Dark App. 2. You can call it whatever you want. And now we get our tokens. Let's go with app settings. You can do it from here. I'll just do it from here. I think it's easier. Edit. Let's go back. And here you want to go to keys and tokens, access token and secret. Let's generate this. And this is what we have, access token. We're going to copy this. And let's put it in here. Access token. And then let's close this. And then we're going to copy the access token secret. I'm going to put it in here. Access token secret. And now we need the, whoops, copy it. And now we need the consumer key and consumer secret. So you go here. And here you need the consumer key. So you regenerate this. You probably don't need to regenerate. You could see it in a different page, but I skipped that. So API key, copy this. And this will lead you here. The consumer key, and then you need to change the API, the consumer secret. It's a secret. Save them. There we go. So now you save this. If you want to make sure it's working, you can just open this. Whoops, rerun your app and see that you get a verification. Created at, blah, 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 blah. So it works. So let me close this up. Great. So now we're done with phase number 1. All right, we created our app, we created our developer account, and we're able to connect to the Twitter API with our keys. Now, in section number 2, let's see how we create these tabs. All right. So I'm going to start the app, go to index, run it again. This is where I run the file. It's the index file, is the one that has all the tabs in the layout. Let's make sure that it works. Good, it's working. So now, how do we make these tabs? So to make the tabs, we're going to put, there's 5 files here. These files, dimensions, trends, and others, each Python file is a layout and a callback, is its own tab. This is the dimensions tab, the trends tab, and the other tab. This app file is just where I connect to Twitter and I instantiate Dash. So I'm starting my my app. You can just copy paste this, okay? And I'm using a Dash Bootstrap Lux theme. And now I have to go in here, and here's where I put all my tabs. So I'm importing all these files, all these libraries. Remember to install Python Twitter, because this is what we use to connect to Twitter. And I'm going to say from app, from the app file, import app and py. So from app here, import this object and import this object, okay? So this is like saying copy paste this into here, copy paste it. So it's in here. And now from each one of these files, from each one of these tabs, I'm actually in Python files, I'm importing a layout. And we'll see that in a few minutes, we'll see what this is. Okay, so the first thing is I'm creating an object called apps tab. And this is just an HTML div with a dash bootstrap tabs, which has this ID. And inside it has three different tabs. It has a mentions tab, trends, and other. And this is the label, mentions, trends, and other. Okay, and this is the tab ID. This is how Dash is going to recognize that this ID is being active, or this ID is active, or this tab is active. And you'll see here that the ID tabs is the ID of this component. An active tab is tab mentions. So this is just telling us that right now inside the big tab component, this tab is active because this is the ID, right? So when I refresh the app and reload it on the web, this is the first tab that is going to be active according to this code. If I change the tab to tab trends, if I click on this tab, if I click here, then this tab is going to be tab trends is going to be assigned here, and this is going to be the active tab. All right, but this means nothing unless we do everything in the callback. So I'm going to show you how to do it in the callback. First, let's go to the layout. This is the main layout. We have a dash bootstrap container. Inside the container, we have the first row with the Twitter analysis dashboard live. So it's this right here, and this is always going to be the same for every tab because it's on top. And then I have horizontal line right here. And then I'm putting inside this row with like 12 columns, I'm putting the app tabs. So I'm putting all of this, HTML div, all of this is going inside of here, inside of this row. And then underneath, I'm going to have content, which right now is empty, but this content is going to be or this, or this, or this, okay? This is going to be the tabs content. This is going to be the layout. It's going to go under each and every tab. All this content is under mentions. Okay, so let's see the callback and see how we do this. We take the input in the app, in the callback decorator, we take the active tab prop component property from the tabs ID. So this is the tabs ID right here, all of this. We're taking the value assigned to the active tab, and this is the same tab chosen. So this value, when we first start the app, is going to be tab mentions. But if we choose a different tab, if we choose this tab, let's say tab other, if we choose this tab, then now tab other is going to be assigned to active tab, and tab other is going to be here, like this. Tab other. Okay, this is what it means. It allows us to change the tabs. Now, I'm saying if the tab chosen right here, right, equals tab mentions, if it equals this, then return something, a certain layout. But if this tab chosen equals tab trends, if it equals this value right here, then return a different layout, this layout. All right, so every time the user or you will change a tab, then this is going to change inside of here, which is going to change the return layout. Now the first layout I return is the mentions layout. Mentions layout comes from right here, remember? From mentions, import mentions layout. This layout, if you go to the mentions file, this layout is right here. Mentions layout. Right, so it's returning all this HTML div, all this, which has one row, two rows with the graphs, third row with a button, and then the input and the drop down. See? One row, the message, the graphs, the button, and the input and the drop down is the first row. All right. So all this mentions layout is inside the mentions file, which is imported from the very beginning, and is returned through the callback if this tab is chosen, tab mentions. Now, if the user chooses tab trends, right? If the user clicks on this tab, then what is it going to do? It's going to return the trends layout, and the trends layout is imported from the trends file right here. And here you can see it's similar. It's smaller because I didn't build it out yet. I'm going to build this out for the next tutorial. I'm returning 2 rows, maybe 2 graphs, maybe I'll put 4 graphs, we'll see. And then I'm saying returning this text. So if you go here, you'll see this trends, 2 empty graphs, and returning this text right here. And if I go back, then I return the mentions layout right here. Okay, so this is how you build. You need this callback to build a Plotly dashboard with multiple tabs. You don't have to put in separate files. You can put everything, all the layouts, everything in one file. But it would look very, very big, right? I would have 300 rows, and so I separated each tab into a separate Python file, right? If you have any more questions around the tabs and how to create this, just write in the YouTube comments, and I'll try to answer you if I have some time. I'll try my best. All right, section number 3. Before we go to section number 3, just a quick self-promotion here. If you want to, if you can support me on Patreon or on YouTube membership, that'll be very, very helpful. And not only does it show me that you appreciate what I do, but it encourages me to continue and creating more tutorials. And you'll get access to a free consultation and to my GitLab and to some other code that I provide to exclusively to my members. So thank you for considering. You can click on the link above if you want to check out my Patreon. All right, so the third section, how do we build these graphs and connect to the Twitter API? So let's look at this. If you go to Chapulin, my cat. So if you go into the index.py file, you'll see here that we import, oh, not the index, sorry. Let's go to the mentions.py. You'll see this in my GitHub as well. Go to mentions.py. And here's where we create all the information, all the graphs and the API, the Twitter API. So look at this. I have to import pretty much the same libraries. I'm also importing Plotly Express because I'm going to create the graphs, and I'm importing from app, import app and API. Every tab is doing that. Every file is doing that because this is where I connect to Twitter, and this is where I declare Bootstrap theme Lux, and where I instantiate Dash. Okay, so I'm importing everything. You already saw the layout, the mentions layout. This is the div of the layout. We have our drop down here with this ID. Remember this ID with 3 options, 10, 20, or 30. If you want to learn more about the drop down, limitations of time won't allow me to go deeply into the drop down, but click on the link above, and I explain in greater detail all about the drop down component. So I put a drop down here, and next to the drop down, in the same row, but to the right, 3 columns to the right, I'm putting a label, search account handle, and underneath an input box. You can see here, search account handle, and then the input box right here. The input box is going to be type text, placeholder, mention this account. So if there's nothing here, it's going to say mention this account. And the value is going to be 1 green planet, which is the initial value that shows it when the app first loads. And then underneath, we're going to create a button, submit button with some background colors. And then underneath that, we're going to have 2 empty graphs for now. With the callback, we're going to fill the graphs with figures. Now it's an empty dictionary, but we're going to create a scatter plot inside this dictionary, or instead of this dictionary. And under the graph, this empty message right here, it's going to be this, but now this is empty. In the callback, we're going to return in the output the children of the notification ID, the children right here of the notification. Here's where we're going to return a message. Message. So I'm returning this message to the children of the notification ID right here, which is this, which is the HTML. Okay, so this is the layout, and now we only have one callback. This callback is generating the whole information for the tab. This is creating all the graphs and everything for the tab. So what am I doing here? I'm taking the input. I have input and two states. Remember the difference. Input, I talk about this in the introduction to the callback. You can click on the link above to learn all about the callback. It's very important you know about the callback because this is the basis of Dash. So click on that video if you want to see about the callback. But as a reminder, input is when input changes, the end clicks of the input, this is what triggers the callback. State information can change, this can change, but it's not going to trigger the callback. It's not going to do anything until the input, which is the button, is clicked. All right. So this end clicks is end clicks of the button ID, and the two other data points is the value of the dropdown. This is a dropdown ID. If you can see, go up here, count mentions. This is a dropdown ID, and then the value of the input. All right. I think the initial value is 20, and the initial value is some kind of one green handle, and 20 right here is the initial value. All right. So it's taken these two values, 20 and one green planet, and it's taken, and whenever this end clicks changes 0, 1, 2, this whole function is activated, where we download we connect to the API, we download information, we create the scatter plots, and then we return this information to the outputs. All right, so let's see what's happening inside the function. This is very, very important. What I'm doing here, one second. What I'm doing here, sorry. What I'm doing here is I'm connecting to the API get search. API get search method is part of the Python Twitter library. Go into searching, and this is a raw. This allows you to create or assign a raw query of Twitter. So I'm assigning here a raw query of Twitter to find this information that we need. Now, what is this raw query? You can find this raw query by going to Twitter and searching for something similar. So let's say I'm going to do an advanced search. You can go advanced search by searching, let's say move, oops, come on. Don't want a new message, just go back. So you click on here, click on advanced search. And in the advanced search, we're going to search mentions. Go down, 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 account mentions. Let's do Plotly graphs. Plotly graphs. I put the @ sign, and I'm going to do from, because I do in my query, I'm doing from August, since January 1st, 2021 to August 5th, 2021. So we'll do the same thing. From January 1st, 2021 to August 5th, 2021, search. And now you see this query right here, right? So I just copy paste this, take all this, copy paste this, and put it right here. This is what I copy pasted, this right here. Let me make this bigger. Instead of Plotly graphs, I put move the world. All right, so this is the query that comes from the URL right here. This is all you need. Take this and just copy paste it and put it right here so you can compare, right? So what I'm doing here, I'm saying %40, this is URL language for the @ sign. This is the same as the @ sign. okay? Percentage URL 40, and then the account handle, right? This is the account handle, move the world. Percentage 20 is just space, until. Percentage 3a is colon, it's just the same thing like this, but you know, it's URL. And then we put the date, space, since, date, and then that's it. So I did the same thing. I put this inside here, but I want to give the user the chance to choose the account dimension, choose the account handle, and also choose the number of results returned. So you can actually put count equals and the number of results. But this has to be dynamic. The number of results and the account chosen comes from the Twitter app, comes from here, right? Here and here. So this has to be dynamic. This has to be information that changes. This information here and this information here has to be information that changes when the user clicks on a button. So I use string formatting, okay, that you can do in Python. And instead of move the world, I just put the dictionary account handle. So this is the account handle. Remember, account handle is the value of the input field, okay? So if the user chooses plotly graphs without the at, just plotly graphs, and hits the submit button, well, plotly graphs and submit button, then this will be here, account handle, it'll be the same as plotly graphs, okay? This is what it will happen when the user chooses a name and hits the submit button. And then instead of number, if they choose number 30, for example, this will change. Instead of number inside dictionary, curly brackets, it will just be 30. This is what will happen, okay? So this is exactly, you see what I did? I used this the string formatting to update this information inside the Twitter URL inside of here. All right. So I'm downloading the results, and the results is a Twitter class. I think it's a JSON format, but it's a Twitter special class of Twitter. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to create empty lists here. And I'm going to say for every line inside the results, because there's multiple lines, every line is an account. Here I have 30 lines, right? Let's hit submit. Let's see how this is done. 30 in plotly graphs from January 2021 to August 5th. Okay. Let's see. And so now let's see. We're saying this is what we generated. We generated 30 different lines, right? Because I did here print line for every line inside the results. Print, I'm doing something here, and then I'm printing the line, right? So I'm printing this dictionary, and because we click 30, we have 30 different lines. And then I'm printing out the Pandas data frame. So let's see here. For this, it's very important that you understand what is inside this line. Let's take the first line, for example. We have a dictionary, key is created at. We have another dictionary, a favorites count, which is of the account. And then we have a few more things. Remember, this line here, every single line is an account, a Twitter account that mentioned plotly graphs, just like we did here in the advanced search. Remember which Twitter accounts mentioned plotly graphs between January and August 5th. All right, so we have here 30 Twitter accounts, 30 results that mention plotly graphs. And we have here for every line, we have that Twitter account, and you'll see more information. You'll see the language they used. You'll see the text they put here. They put some text, a mobile app, and then you'll see user. This is information about the user. This is information about the post to the left, and to the right is information about the user. So you see how we have user is the key, and then we have another dictionary that opens up. See? And inside this dictionary, we have information, for example, on that user, favorite count. So how many likes have they accumulated over time? This Twitter account right here, the first accumulated 2,114 favorite likes over their lifetime. All right. So to access all this information, we do for line each results, Twitter likes. I'm going to append. I'm going to put inside this list the line, access the user. So I'm accessing the user, the value, key value of user right here. Where is it? I'm accessing all user. I'm accessing all this. And inside that, I want to access favorite counts. All right. So the favorite counts, if we go down here, I'm accessing the value of the favorite counts key. The key value is this. So this will be 2,114. This will be the first value that goes into this list. And then in the second row, this will be the second value would be in that side that list will be user, and favorite accounts will be somewhere in here. Right here, 8,381. All right, so this will have 30 different numbers of 30 different accounts representing Twitter likes. Same thing with Twitter followers, Twitter accounts. So we have 5 different lists. And then I'm actually, let's put this down a little bit. And then I'm creating a dictionary so I can create a Pandas data frame. There might be faster ways of doing this. Please feel free to put in the YouTube under the video faster ways that you found of creating a Pandas data frame. So I'm creating these 5 lists, and inside this list I'm saying the first key of this new dictionary is going to be called followers, and it's going to have the Twitter followers list. This key likes is going to have the Twitter a list of all the Twitter likes, right, of the 30 different Twitter accounts. And then I'm just putting everything into a Pandas data frame, and I'm printing out the Pandas data frame. So if you go here, you'll see I print out, whoops, this is a Pandas data frame called df. I have followers column, likes column, and you see the first one is 2114, 7,000, and so on and so on. And the names of each and every account that mentioned Plotly graphs in the last 6 months. At least 30 accounts that mentioned Plotly graphs in the last 6 months. And that's it. That's all the information you have. So now that you have everything in a Pandas data frame, now you can create anything that you want to create. Now you can create messages, you can create graphs. So this is the easy part. Here I'm creating a scatter plot with the X is going to be followers, the Y is likes column, and then I'm creating a trend line, and I'm adding the hover data name. Followers is the X column, X axis, likes is a Y axis. I'm creating a trend line, and I'm adding the name. You see name inside the hover data, R stats 4D, pi data, so on and so on, Mapo logo, interesting names. For the first scatter plot. In the second scatter plot, it's very similar. I just have friends and likes on both axes. So you see here, not a big correlation between friends and likes for the Twitter accounts that mention Plotly graphs, but a bigger correlation between followers and likes. And then I create this final message down here. Right? This message down here is just this message right here. I'm creating the string formatting of the Twitter account that mentioned @ because we don't put the @ account handle. What is the account handle? The account handle is this, which is this. Sorry, account handle is this, which is this one, the last states, right? This value is the value of the input field. So this value is actually this value, right? So if we put a different, let's take a nice animal loving website. Let's take move the world. Or into dash, we put move the world here, 30 results, submit. So now you'll see different graphs. You see the Twitter account that mentioned move the world, the Twitter account that mentioned move the world from January 2021 to August is called most followers count name. This is the message that we created here, most followers account name. And this is, you can just, I won't go over this right now, just print it. I would recommend just print this and see what happens. I'm just accessing I'm accessing the names column right here, the value of the row that has the largest amount of followers, all right? Because I want to create this message. Twitter account that mentioned move the world in the last 6 months is called Debbie, and it has the highest followers account of 4,800. So it's right here, 4,879 followers. Just a neat piece of data. So how am I doing this? Let's put the recording back down here. So how am I doing this? I'm actually returning everything. I'm returning the first scatter plot, the second figure, plotly expressed figure, and then the message right here as objects. These 3 objects are returning inside the output. First scatter plot, second scatter plot, and then the message inside the children of the notification. The message inside the children is this one right here. And then the first scatter plot and the second scatter plot belong to my scatter and my scatter 2 IDs. So they belong here and they belong here. Okay? This is how all the information is returned to this first tab. So I hope you enjoyed. This was a little bit longer than my usual tutorials, but this is very important to know how to create tabs, a dashboard with tabs in Dash Plotly. And it's not easy. So if you have any questions, feel free to write me. You can also find me on Patreon. There's a lot of messaging going back and forth and consultation that I give to my members. So if you'd like to join, I would be grateful, and I look forward to seeing you there. That's pretty much it. Have a great week. Click the subscribe button so you can get notified for the next tutorial around these 2 different tabs that we're going to create. Always remember, we're better together, so help each other out, and never give up. Keep practicing. Until next time, bye bye.